Hello and welcome everybody to the North American Console Fight for Redemption. We're in the first game. We're going to be seeing quite a few here this evening. We're going to be starting off with Anuna versus UDG Vanguard here. We're going to be starting on Oasis, and if you're a little unfamiliar, let me break it down for you. With the Fight for Redemption, it's truly going to be all on the line. It's basically one submap of a control point. So in this case, going to be Oasis. We're going to see what the submap is as we hop into it. But as we look ahead for your casting entertainment, I'm going to be Sir Waltham, joined by the fantastic Hamwell. Ham, how are we feeling about these teams today?
Well, I'll tell you, I am very excited. This is going to be, I mean, first off, this style of match with this slow down time of percentage on control, it's just, I mean, if you saw the EU finals match that Kybade actually ended up winning over SM, I believe, I mean, it's so exciting to watch this sort of competition go on. I mean, control
Yeah.
map, you see such great fights, defense, attack, all back and forth, rolled into one. It's really fun. But about these two teams in particular, it's going to be a great matchup. Anuna has some great players on their side, notably their DPS, Wugst, I believe. Excuse me, but they have a very, a very strong DPS line that I think is going to be getting a ton of value. I mean, it is control uh, points that we're talking about here.
Mhm.
But on the side of Vanguard, Muchi Mojo, a support player, I believe, or known to be a support player, definitely notable names on the side of UDG Vanguard. So I think this is going to be a very exciting match to watch. Both teams playing for their lives. This is fight for redemption. So it's knockout, it's elimination style tournament play, and that makes this the most exciting thing of all, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's pretty much razor's edge as we move forward here. Now, for those of you who may have been paying attention before we went live with the NA games, we had a little bit of a recap what we saw in the EU section. They were also on Oasis. They were also on Gardens. What'd you think about some of those performances we saw coming out here, Ham?
I mean, it was just insane. If it's any indication of what we're gonna see over on the NA side of things, I mean, I can't wait. This is gonna be an absolute barn burner to cast. But I mean, you look at that finals match between Kybade and SM, it goes onto Oasis University, I believe. Sorry. Those maps are always very confusing to remember, those
Hmm.
specific sub maps, I guess you could say. But I mean, it goes on for basically 12 minutes of just back and forth, teams fighting it out. I mean, these are not one-sided affairs that we're seeing on this, and I think that's what makes this the most, just this whole style. It's very exciting.
Absolutely, I can't disagree. And as we look ahead, I do believe it's going to be the Gardens that we're going to be seeing coming out here on Oasis, a nice little tropical map. So definitely some potential here for a lot of high flying action. I always like to talk about the Farah. But what are your opinions here, Ham?
Well, there is a lot of diversity in comp you can run. Brawl has a lot of viability as far as you can run Ryan Sigma as become more prevalent as of late, but you can run Ryan Zarya as well, the tried and true, always a big winner. And I happen to believe that Shoegaze, who happens I think to be playing support at the moment, does have a really strong Zarya. So it's surprised we probably won't be seeing Brawl coming out from them. Oh, yes, Shoegaze will be playing the Sigma. But Ryan Sigma, very strong here on this map. The brawl style, we could see some adjustments to dive, depending on if a team sees a potential niche for it. But with RVL Alucard running the Reaper, I don't think dive is really in the cards for Anuna.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see here as we get ready. These doors just about to open up, and I was hoping for it a little bit earlier. We're going to be seeing that Farah come online. QZK going to be popping onto it, but Agent Reaper on that sim or Sombra, excuse me.
Yeah, and the Sombra, I mean, if Farah decides to play aggressively, really up close to the point, that Sombra could find value against Farah, but Farah's got a bit of a mismatch right now. There's not really a lot that can contest QZK4 on that Farah right now. I mean, there's no strong hit scan to speak of.
There's certainly not. And speaking of hit scans, it's going to be Iwux taken down early on in this fight, and with the force of 1,000 thunderstorms, it feels like Vanguard getting pretty aggressive right up on this team. Looks like the tank line kind of crumbling here for this side of Anuna, and with that, they're just going to be backing up, soft shoeing it out, and letting the point go over to Vanguard.
Shoot, and a Reaper coming into your tank's face like that, I mean, there's
Mhm.
not a lot you can do, especially there on a first fight. The element of surprise is so big. That's a nice little parting gift that Wugs sends out onto the Sombra. But looking ahead, I mean, that shatter for Mochi Mojo is going to be absolutely huge for controlling this point.
It certainly will. However, they'll have to look around those double shields coming in. However, they managed to land it, but Mochi Mojo does not seem to have the reinforcements that she needs to really get in there. And with that now, it looks like the tide's turning. Anuna now starting to take advantage of this fight. They have man advantage. They have numbers on point. And with this, the cleanup comes quick and thorough. Anuna gets the point.
Yeah, and that was a strong fight one. You got ults out from the side of Vanguard while taking the point and maintaining a nice ult economy of your own. You've got both supports ults online. You've got the Graviton Flux here in the next few that's going to be a big game changer. I mean, we've seen so many cool plays with that ult. I mean, you could throw in the Deadeye that Wugs is about to have coming online. I mean, there's a lot of nice stuff that can happen here right now if you're a Nuna.
Yeah, and once again, we're seeing Agent Reaper kind of get taken out early into those fights, or perhaps a little bit late if you prefer thinking of it that way. But that Sombra not going to be able to infiltrate as quickly as they might like as they're getting ready to push into this. The Dynamite from QZ getting in there. But now Guy9 going to be taking the hack, not able to put up that Immortality field. Doesn't really matter as the McCree zones them out, but gets blasted down by that Reaper. Going to be forcing out a lot of support ultimates. It's going to be the Mercy and Moira for one of each, dropping those support ultimates to keep these teams online. And this Sombra trying to be a pest, but that Sigma just absolutely trying to body block, settling Ace actually throwing the Sombra off the map, getting thrown off for their troubles by the Lucio in kind. And with this, these slow matches need to be won a little bit more convincingly because it's not looking great so far for the side of Vanguard.
I mean, yeah, that's the thing with the slow as this point turns, these longer drawn out fights, I mean, you have to secure them just because that was a lost fight that's gained, you know, this much progress already. I mean, it's phenomenal. But a lot of ults were used on the side of Anuna. They really only have the supercharger coming online. Meanwhile, for the side of Vanguard, you've got that big Death Blossom coming out from Alucard. And Alucard, I think, really needs to do a good job of staying alive longer into this fight. You do see Agent Reaper switching over to the Ashe. That's going to provide a little bit more, you know, sort of entrance poke. But Alucard needs to stay alive and provide this damage, and that's what we're going to see.
Yeah, speaking of entrance, apparently those are just entry breaching shotguns coming in, blasting down that Ashe. And the sound barrier are going to be coming out from the side of Vanguard, so they're going to be having a little bit more resilience, a little bit more health pool to work with, and they're going to use that to take down the McCree, but will it be enough? Mochi Mojo certainly hoping to make it so as they go for that Baptiste. No Immortality field, a lot of healing gone. Will force out the res. They probably would have liked to camp that body a little bit more, but hindsight is 2020 as we see the Gravitic Flux trying to come in, settling Ace, managing to stay on their toes and on their feet as much as possible. Goes for the Gravitic Flux, but finds nothing with it. Despite the Sigma staying so long in this fight, doesn't seem to be the tide turner that they needed them to be. Anuna just trying to buy some time here. They have quite a bit of advantage in that time bank. It's gonna be looking really close, but now the respawns are starting to come in. Vanguard gonna be dropping that Rhine Shatter, looking to clean up with this, and it might be the ticket they need to finally get this point all sealed up for themselves. As we come in here, we are into overtime, looking to just get ahead of this. We see Alucard trying to blast that Orisa, will fall eventually with Boo Wubble trying to get that damage in as well. The point finally flips for the side of Vanguard in the nick of time.
Yeah, that really was. That was just not a moment too soon. And I mean, that fight, Anuna doing such a great job of just maintaining enough presence on the point to keep the point from ever being fully overturned. And because of that, I mean, they stalled a fight out for a good, you know, at least 25%. And that's no small feat given how slow these ticks are going by. But now there's a lot of ults on the side of Anuna that they can use to kind of take this with. They can take their time, but they do have that amplification matrix for huge value.
Yeah, Nuna going to be throwing the Bob in there as well to break the ice a little bit, saying go give them an introduction, as well as Supercharger coming out, going to help to build up even more ultimates from the McCree, from the Ashe. Mochi Mojo taking a lot of pressure. The flashbang comes in, takes down the Moira, takes down the Reinhardt with the fan, the hammer. And right now things are looking a little bit level on both sides of the field, but the team with the ults ends up coming up victorious with that. Vanguard manages to repel this attack.
Man, an Alucard came up when it mattered there. I mean,
Yeah.
I might have been a little bit hard on the Alucard to start the series, but that Death Blossom really is exactly what they needed to secure the fight because it's allowed them with that single ult to secure the fight. It's allowed them to now have the Dragon Blade online. They're about to have Earth Shatter. They're about to have Graviton Flux. They've got Coalescence. I mean, they've now got a lot of ults to work with, and they're going to need them because they're looking at a Valkyrie, possibly a Deadeye, Graviton Flux, all on the side of Anuna. So they're not completely defenseless here as they come in for this attack.
They're certainly not. Twin Gravitic Fluxes coming out. Neither one going to really net a whole lot of kills, but Gainai going to be dropping that Immortality Field, and with that, the Ghost Signals for Agent Reaper to drop the Blade in return. Agent Reaper getting 3, getting 4
huge!
with that. The Valkyrie comes out, but it's not there, and Vanguard holds again.
Man, these DPS on the side of Vanguard are really individually popping off right now. They're individually winning fights, and this is just leading. Oh my goodness! Look at the stagger. This is absolutely huge.
Yeah, it's going to be a question of can settling Ace buy enough time with this Wrecking Ball. The Winston comes in as well, trying to get that dive, but it's a trade tank for tank moving along here. The Immortality Field comes out from Gainai to try to buy a little bit more space, but will it be enough? It's going to be the question. Alucard getting focused down by that Pharah, knowing that the Reaper can't really match that range you can poke from with those rockets. And with this, the Moira does get taken down, so it's looking a little bit like a checkerboard pattern here. I do believe we have a disconnect, but the fight's certainly not over. Anuna trying to use that Pharah to some effect, but QZ not going to be able to find too much with that Rocket Barrage. This is looking so close, but the Pharah might just seal it up here. It's going to be the Lucio trying their best to stall out, but can they make it happen? It's looking so questionable right now.
Oh my goodness, this is absolutely insane. The Pharah has got a huge mismatch right now just because there's no hit scan to counter them. This is going to allow them to take the point, and now, oh my goodness, I don't know if Vanguard can take this back.
They cannot. Anuna going to be coming out victorious, and such an unfortunate loss in Vanguard in there. I believe it was one of their tank players had a little bit of a player drop there. I guess in between the maps, or in between the fights rather.
Well, it looked like it actually happened in the middle of the fight, and that was the main tank of Mochi Mojo, which is why we couldn't pause, as I believe it did happen in the middle of a fight. And that's so unfortunate, though. That's your main tank. The Reinhardt could have provided so much cleave, such a big source of damage up close and personal. That's so important on these control maps, and just a very unfortunate circumstance. But that is the nature of the beast when we're talking about these sort of distinctive map types.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like I said, Razor's Edge, and that was pretty cutting on both sides. We saw it 99-99, that overtime eventually taking down in favor of Anuna. So overall, it looks like that's about where Vanguard's going to be ending their run. We will just have to see. However, stick around, folks. We're going to be taking it to a short break, and then we'll be back with the continuation of our fight for redemption. Thank you for waiting, everybody. We are back with the fight for redemption. Anuna now continuing on, going to be going up against Revamp once again for your casting entertainment, Sir Waltham and Ham. Well, Ham, let's kind of quickly recap what we saw on Gardens of Oasis.
Well, we saw a very back and forth match for starters. I mean, the biggest thing, the biggest thing I think is there in that final fight, Mochi Mojo disconnecting, and that really was a big sort of game changer because I really did think Vanguard would be able to pull that out. But Anuna, they stuck together. They definitely played well throughout the entire map. I want to say series just because that's how it feels. It was that
Yeah.
long. It was that intense. But one thing I noticed very specifically about Anuna that they do very well is they understand hero mismatches. There were several times where they would recognize there was no hit scan on the side of Vanguard, and they would use that to their advantage. Specifically in the final fight, there was no hit scan to shut down Quake's Farah, and because of that, a lot of cleanup happens on that very final fight, and we see Anuna walk away and on to this next match in our series against Revamp.
Yeah, so it sounds like it's just a lot of things going really right for the side of Anuna as we go towards that Lijiang Tower. It looks like, if my eyes aren't deceiving me, I do believe it's night market.
Doth my eyes deceive me?
Doth mine.
Indeed, it is night market. But
So, how do we feel about night market?
night market's fun. Sim strats, Lucio, speed with the sim strat, on to point, get there first. That's going to be a very interesting dynamic when you compound the fact that the ticks happen so much slower in this style. I mean, you put all that together, and it's going to be very interesting what we see here. But I have to think it's going to be a heavy helping of sim.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what we've been seeing historically throughout night market. Always use the sim to get that quick teleport in. However, it looks like the off tank might differ here, settling Ace and Pinto. Going to be switching between the Sigma and Zarya for those picks.
I love Zarya. I wish we saw more Zarya. I've loved watching Overwatch League here recently, seeing the Winston Zarya. But Zarya and the classic brawl, it's so much fun to play. I want to see it pop off.
Yeah, and speaking of popping off, already some kills coming through on the feed. QZ going to be taking down that Brig. Not a lot of that mass team healing that can come through for that Brig. It's just going to be on USC to keep their team healed up. And already the shatter from Swift coming in, trying to blast down the opposing team. Will take down that main tank from the side of Anuna. Get that first capture, but Anuna not quite looking like they're out of this fight just yet. They're looking like they're going to get some more poke. Now they'll finally pull back.
Yeah, and I thought they were going to come back in there. They might still come back in relatively soon just for that reason. Sigma did not get... They all got the memo.
Yeah, that was a quick repush. The amplification window going to be coming out from Gainai, just trying to get that extra damage in, but it doesn't seem to be paying off. Pinto burning down that Symmetra with the Zarya. Truly, the pink-haired laser is a little bit stronger. The High Noon just to put the seal on the deal from Kaibai.
And this has really just benefited Revamp this whole time too, because they've successfully won 2 fights now. Their ults are looking pretty strong because of it, and they've even been using ults. And now they're up to 30%. So I mean, now looking ahead, they do have the Shatter. They've got the Photon Barrier. I'd love to see the Photon Barrier utilized in a way to really let the Shatter get more value. But they're going to have to watch out for Wug's Deadeye, as well as a Shatter on the side of BKDS. Yeah. That's how I'm going to say it.
We're going to have to find out as this fight now going underway. Iwux trying to get that High Noon, barely avoids the Shatter. High Noon's right into the bubble of Pinto. Not going to be finding too much with that value. Does buy a little bit of space though. The Proton Barrier coming out from the Sim Adam Atomic. Rather going to be trying to buy that space for their team. But Revamp seems to be doing fine so far. They haven't given up this point progress. They're still holding on to that grab. Doesn't look like they're going to be willing to invest at this fight. They'll just take the loss. Anuna now going to finally have the chance to get on point.
Yeah, and I think it's smart to hold on to that grab there. It's such a battle-winning ult that you can really afford to, give up some progress here. You're almost at 60%. But what was really great there for Anuna is they've still got... they did have to use Graph, so they won't be able to combine that with the Barrage, but they've got Shatter and Barrage that can combine really well, especially if you throw in that amplification matrix in there for just a little bit of added bonus. You might not even need to throw in the Earth Shatter at that point if you just use those two in a combo.
Certainly going to have to look for it. Pinto going to be looking for that grab, throwing in, getting 3. However, the immortality field is there. QZ going to be getting that rocket barrage kill onto Pinto. Numbers now looking a little bit more comfortable for the side of Anuna as they have taken out the tanks and the supports. It's just going to be the DPS walking away.
Yeah, and that's a very cleanly won fight as well. I mean, you only use the barrage, really. I think that's really all you give up on that fight. Meanwhile, the grav is now off the table. Swift's going to be coming online with that Earth Shatter here shortly. I'd love to see the Shatter go off and then the Nano afterwards to maybe help Swift continue to farm that Earth Shatter, get back into the fight against Baquettes as well.
Atomic going to be taking the nano boost, really going into that Reinhardt, forcing the Reinhardt to have to either keep focus on the McCree or on the Reaper. And because of that, those DPS kind of split the focus of this fight so well. We're seeing Revamp come out victorious over a couple kills. They're going to clean up the Mercy and then easily flip this point once again.
I've been watching Kaiboy take all kinds of really nice flanks on McCree throughout this map so far, and it's really getting big value. I mean, you're pretty much choosing between a rock and a hard place with that last ultimate. Now, Revamp did use a good bit of their ult economy to get in on that point. They're not really working with much. Everybody except for Swift is under 50%, but they're not really looking at much on the side of Anuna either. Quake is really going to have to work to farm up that barrage, but Wugs does have the Deadeye. Just that alone, though, that's not going to get a lot of value. It's going to be pretty easily managed.
Ooh. Yeah, it's definitely not going to get any value as you get taken down while using it. Vex going down there so early, crucial loss, and from there, we're just seeing some easy cleanup from the side of Revamp.
Yeah, and on the plus side for Anuna, they knew that once the Deadeye fell through, it was time to get out. It was time to reset. The downside is now they're looking at 90%, which even though that takes a little bit longer, that's still not much time to work with to set up and get this point overturned. So, I mean, they are really having to climb a mountain here in these final few ticks.
Yeah, we are very likely in this last fight territory. The Rocket Barrage trying to come through, but QZ gets disrupted from it, gets just taken down immediately. And with that, Pinto going to be using that opening to just break open this point with the grab. The Death Blossom into it, the high noon as well. A celebration of ults coming in from Revamp as they take this point.
Wow, and that's the cool thing about winning on control too, is a lot of times you've got ults just put up waiting for the counter to come back in, so it's just a flurry of ults at the end. Everybody press Y in console's case, and yeah, it's a good way to secure a fight.
Yeah, overall, I really liked the style we saw from Revamp, using that Reaper to what felt like some startling effectiveness. Again, I loved that. It just felt like they sent him into the back line, made the Reinhardt have to turn around or just take that damage.
It really did. The Reaper and the McCree both are such flanky. They're so flanky in their value that you combine those two together and you play them to their most effective potential. You're really just forcing the team to choose constantly. The enemy team constantly has to choose. Do I go after the McCree? Do I go after the Reaper? Because if you don't commit enough resources to either one, you're really just screwing up your team even worse. So, I mean, you throw all that together. I mean, being able to run that effectively on control, that's going to make this team very tough to beat going forward.
It certainly will. And as far as tonight, this evening goes, Revamp will be moving on. They're going to be going up against Valor. So you're going to want to catch that, folks. But first, you're going to have to stick around as we go to a short break. And welcome back, folks. If you haven't heard it twice, you're going to hear it once again to the North American console. Fight for redemption. These teams trying to cling on to life here. And the good news is that the teams we are going to be witnessing today have gotten to the point where they can make it into playoffs. However, now they're just going to be fighting for a little bit of seeding. They're going to be fighting to see who can be victorious in terms of moving towards that playoffs. But we're going to have Valor Inspire versus Revamp, who we just saw come off the back end of a win with Anuna. Once again, for your casting entertainment, Sir Waltham and Hamwell. Ham, how are we feeling about this?
Well, I'm pretty excited. I mean, Revamp, they had a pretty dominating fight on Night Market just now on Lijiang Tower. I mean, they did very well. They did excellent point control. They ran that McCree Reaper to perfection. I don't think they'll be able to run it here on Oasis as we head to Gardens, I believe.
Let me see. Yes, it
Gard-
looks like it
Gar-
will be Gardens once
Gardens is
again.
called.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
So
we're going to be seeing
that's
that.
new. Well, Gardens, I again, I mean, we already saw a phenomenal match in our first round on Gardens, so I'm going to be interested to see if the Rhine Sigma holds true here. Neither of these teams played in that match, so we
Yeah.
have a high likelihood of seeing entirely different strategies, entirely different comps. I would love to see. It looks like we will see Ryan Zarya coming out from Swift and Pinto. Like I said, I love Ryan Zarya. I think it gets a ton of value when you throw in Brig Ana on the support line. And then, you know, McCree Genji, it's pretty powerful right now. Genji's in a pretty strong place. I think this is a pretty solid comp coming out on the side of Revamp.
You certainly have to agree with that. If you're a fan of pure stats, you're going to be leaning a little bit more towards Valor. But Revamp still only has to win one sub map, and they're going to be looking good here. We are going to be seeing that Ryan Zarya come out, Swift and Pinto on that combination, Dubstep Beats and Aqua Turtle on a Sigma Rhine to match. As now it looks like the fight's going to actually be taking place on this little overhead hang here. Both teams wanting to get that early positioning coming through. My spawn now going to be taking down that Ana. A lot of healing going to be taken away from the side of Revamp as it moves forward here. And now the tank gone. Valor Inspire looking pretty good to take this first point.
Yeah, and that was very interesting, taking the fight to the high ground. Neither of these teams seem like that's particularly where they want to be. Looks like they'd be more equipped to brawling right on the point, but all the same, that does pay off for Valor. And you see that Doomfist from My Spawn now, you know, about 50% to ultimate. Not really a lot of ultimates this early on in the fight, but ton of value with that 1 KO potential.
Yeah, and having that high ground allows them to just dive in and try to get that early damage, at least force a little bit of distraction coming through, and Revamp going to fall for it every time. They're going to be losing members pulling back.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, the cleanup there is so clean, so concise. In the meantime, though, Atomic getting very close to that Dragon Blade. You'd love to see Nano go along with it, but USC Infinite's only at about 55%. So we might have to wait a little bit longer. But now Pinto going over to the Roadhog. Now that's very interesting. That 100% has to be in to try and counter Joe Beefy in My Spawn now. They're running these very divey DPS. But the defense right now, they've got Shatter, they've got Graviton Flux online, Amplification Matrix. They are ready to have a very strong defensive hold here.
Yeah, and we'll see if we can have Pinto get any of those early picks. My Spawn now trying to go in, doesn't find much, but the Urge Shadow from Aqua Turtle sets a few people on the ground, and with this it looks like cleanup's all gonna be here. Valor Inspire looking to take this, and so far 50-0, that's a pretty good head.
Yeah, that is pretty dominating thus far, especially from what we've seen so far in this type of match. I mean, we've seen back and forth. I mean, it's been a brawl just to get up to 55%, and this has just been dominating from Valor. And they're still looking good. I mean, they give up their 3 ults there, but in the meantime, their DPS, who have been providing so much value, now they've both got ults online. That Pulse Bomb could be absolutely huge for Joe Beefy on the side of Valor, especially considering that you probably will have to counter the Dragon Blade Nano here this fight.
As they're going to take down the Ana, meaning no nano boost available for that Dragon Blade. That might be the opportunity here. My Spawn now did get taken down rather early, but it looks like the side of Revamp weren't quite able to follow up with it, and now they're going to get punished here as Valor Inspire continue to go on this chase. They lose Joe Beefy, but it might not be enough for Revamp to come back.
And that's a loss you can afford to take too if you're Valor, because I mean Tracer's going to get back super fast. But this has allowed Revamp. This is their first opportunity, probably all fight, that I really think they have a good chance of taking the fight here. They've got Shatter online. They've got the Nano Blade. Kaiboy, if he could get some value, he could have the Barrage here up pretty soon.
We're going to have to see if they can manage it here. Atomic going to be dropping that Dragon Blade, gets the Brig, and that is a crucial kill to allow that Genji to just run around in the back line. Trying to deflect, trying to stay alive, but Atomic not going to be able to stay alive for long. However, it does look like Revamp does have a little bit of life here. They have man advantage here. And Pinto trying to get some advantage with that Roadhog, really going to be pulling it back. And at the Death's Door, they're going to be able to flip the point.
And this is where the Pharah of Kaiboy can really start getting a ton of value. Defending this point. Now, we will see my spot now switching over to the Ashe. That's a very smart pick, because otherwise, this dive DPS duo was just going to have to dive onto the point, constantly getting smashed by a Pharah, being able to pre-shot a lot of times. But the defense now, they're looking at Barrage. They do have the Valk to go along with it, and they're going to have to defend against Amplification Matrix, Error Shatter, and possibly a Flux, too. And not to mention, Joe Beefy's going to have that Pulse Bomb ready to use at will.
We're going to hear that Justice coming in from over the top. It gets 3 from the top rope. Although the Kaiboy does get taken down, all is not necessarily lost for Valor Inspire, especially as they get some of these last few kills. It's going to be Pinto trying to just deal some damage to the Reinhardt shield. Buys enough space for the Reinhardt to get rezzed in Swift. So this might once again go in favor of Revamp. And in fact, it looks like it does.
Man, Valor really is almost like a Hydra, though. You kill one head and like 2 more heads pop up. You kill one prong of their attack, and then all of a sudden it's like Joe Beefy's in the corner, and he's, one clipping your support line. But Atomic, has that Dragon Blade online right now. Again, waiting on USC Infinite for the Nano, but Kaiboy, that's going to be a huge pick to start things off. But on the bright side for Valor, they can take their time here. They're at 99%. Revamp's only at 50. They can build up ults. They could possibly get a 6 ult advantage and never really have to even take a fight until the last one and just go in and all press Y. I mean, they're in really good shape right now. That cannot be stressed enough.
It really can, as we saw that fight, just kind of going in an absolute blurry. 2 kills early on, and it's going to be Valor once again on the back foot. Now looking to regroup, though.
Yes, and in the meantime, this has allowed Revamp to build up just passively, basically, the Earth Shatter. Now they've got that to pair with the Blade. USC Infinite now is really close to Nano, so this pause has really benefited the defense. Well, Crafty!
Yeah, Swift going to be getting a big shatter. Not a lot of follow-up as we've seen historically with some of these Reinhardts. The Blade does come out from Atomic with the Nano boost as well. Going to help to secure this team fight win. Tries to take down the Tracer. Gets the deflect on the Joe Beefy, and with that, Revamp managed to stay alive here.
Now, Revamp did have to use everything that they had in the bank just to hold that. They will be looking for Pinto to go ahead and get that whole hog online here soon with the Valk. That could provide a lot of value for zoning off this point, but they're going to be running against Valor. They've got the rally to run in with, and that's going to allow them time. Oh, but that pick's going to slow everything down.
Yeah, and a big pin coming out onto the Brig, meaning she's very low, almost in danger of dropping that rally, but Swift, getting a little too bold, ends up taking that loss, gets brought up by their Mercy. Able to be put back in. Bob going in, trying to deal the damage, does find a couple kills going in both directions for this fight, but it's going to be Pinto trying to zone people off with that whole hog, and Dubstep Beats dropping because of the long shots coming in from Pinto. And with this now, we're just seeing some stall comps come out. Swift on this Wrecking Ball might be trying to buy a little bit of time. The point will flip. This is going to be last fight. Valor Inspire need to get it clean here. As we can see, this damage trying to come through. Mercy gets taken down, and it's looking so good for the side of Valor. They're going to have that point and eat it too.
Man, you gotta feel for Revamp. They fought really hard to get that back to 99%, just for Valor to kind of swoop in and go, my point now, game over, we get the better seeding in playoffs.
Yeah, and that is so unlucky. I'm still gonna cringe at how close that Brig was by a huge res to dying. Took the pin from Swift and then just kept themselves alive.
Yeah, I mean, that would have been a game changer. I really think if Brig goes down there, that really could have changed the momentum immensely. But I mean, Valor, they look tough now. And the thing I
Yeah.
really like too about this fight to redemption is that these teams are getting a nice sort of warm up going into playoffs of just really hard, brawlsy, scrappy play. And that sort of play, that's really going to benefit them well going into playoffs. So I'm going to be
Mhm.
very interested to see how these two teams do as we head into the completion of Get Good, just because they should feel pretty strongly about the momentum they've got right now.
Yeah, and I mean, you talk about the momentum. These are control maps. Control is generally what you lead with in some of these brackets. So it's kind of like a nice dovetail. Control to control, and then you can start being a little bit more objective focused. So you don't have to break up that concentration as much. But overall, here, Ham, who do you think are some players that we should be watching out for as we move towards those playoffs?
Well, I think this rising Genji meta, I mean, we saw the play of the game coming from Atomic with those blades. I think Atomic is someone, if Genji, if the nerfs don't come in midway through playoffs, then good Genji players are going to be getting a ton of value, and that's something should watch out for. But for Valor, I mean, their DPS line, Joe Beefy, my
Yeah.
spawn now, just absolutely incredible. They play so aggressively, and in this meta, that's completely incalculable how much that benefits your team. But likewise, their tank line is just sturdy. They're brawly. Aqua Turtle on that Reinhardt that was kind of the deciding factor in the final fight cleanup. As they got control of point, it was just Aqua Turtle swinging that hammer and getting a lot of cleanup with it. So definitely, I think Valor Inspire has a very strong roster, and I wouldn't be surprised to see them, take a nice little trip through this playoff series.
Yeah, definitely. I think both teams kind of showing that they deserve to be there. Valor for obviously coming out the victor. Revamp, though, going from basically 0 to 99, not losing a single fight after, not
Impressive.
only not only 0 to 99, but a 70% tick rate 0 to 99. So
Yeah.
definitely some propers going out to both these teams. We're going to be looking forward to them. So keep your eyes out on those playoffs. However, for the fight for redemption, we are about ready to wrap it up. So if you don't mind, Ham, I'll go ahead and do the honors here. For your casting entertainment, I have been Sir Waltham, joined by Ham. Well, we appreciate you guys coming in and watching these games. I know the teams appreciate it as well. Once again, congratulations to Valor Inspire for coming out the dominant team in this set. We hope to see them in the playoffs coming up soon. But for now, everybody, thank you for watching once again. Take care and have a great night, everybody.